Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is a T95, it's a tier 9 American tank destroyer. It's located on the north spawn of Malinovka under the command of Andromeda. Okay, battle started and his guns dropped. Has he loaded in? Yes, he's loaded in. Okay, well, the dreaded Doom Turtle. Never actually got put into production, but it's one hell of a tank destroyer, mainly because it's got two sets of tracks and not your standard one set of tracks either side. This has got two, and of course it's virtually impregnable. Well, you wouldn't want to make it pregnant, would you? Those terrible jokes. Oh, the old jokes are the best. It's got a 155mm gun with 750 alpha. Basically, it's almost the same as the T30. Difference is T30's got a turret and can't really stand shells because it's basically similar to a T29. It's got a good turret but bad hull. In the case of the Doom Turtle though, it's incredibly strong from the front, so you really don't want to be at the pointy end if you can help it. Ideally you want to get behind this guy, and if you can, pump shells into those fuel tanks at the back. But if you can't do that, then try and be elsewhere, because if you do stand in front of the gun, you could end up losing most of your hit points fairly quickly. 15-second reload, which is about the same for the T30 as well. And it looks like our friendly Arty is trying to remind whoever's behind that house that he has to move. He's had his eviction notice. Over there we've got a Ferdinand. Okay, well, if we're going to get shots on that Ferdinand, we're going to have to get a bit closer actually, because here I think he's actually sitting behind that mound at the moment at the other end. I say mound because it's not really a hill. Oh, Progetto just came into view over in the just north of the lake. And we've got a Scorpion G in a rather unusual position. He's using the spotter bush. Now, have we got shots? No, we haven't. That is because he is behind that mound. There's not a lot we can do. I think he's sitting there, hoping that nobody comes in this direction. And that SU-101, well, again, I think he's just protecting their cap. That's all he's doing. He's just going to sit there until somebody dislodges him. Now, there was times in this game, and I seem to remember that it was actually on a Malinovka game, where somebody who was actually in the T95 just literally drove out into the centre of the field, and everybody on the enemy team started firing at him. And despite repeated shells hitting his tank, all they could do was track him. They weren't really damaging him. And I think it was one of Jingle's videos actually. Jingle's adverts? No. Jingle's videos. And it was really hilarious really, because no matter how hard they tried, they just couldn't get the shells in until some bright spark fired between the underneath the gun, underneath the mount where it's a weak spot, and they finally started penetrating him. And of course, so long as he actually protected that, they weren't getting anywhere. Okay, now we've got a target. And the Ferdinand paid for backing up with 825 hit points. And because we've got a Conqueror for company, it's more than one target. He's now dipping down because he knows he can get behind the safety of that earth. There's two Arty on the enemy team, and I expect one of them to probably start firing very shortly. Now, a blind shot might work. I'm not sure he actually did get a hit there, but he has only got 76% of his hit points now. Just waiting those last few seconds before it goes in. And, well, he's done the safe thing. Seek cover. So we're just going to keep moving. And the Ferdinand has now gone down, taken out by a Panther 88. Just suddenly noticed that we don't have the team lists up. That's better. Oh, excellent! He must have set off the shells. Well, we're heading straight for the cap. I think it's one of those cases of come and get me if you think you're hard enough. Well, certainly he has now been spotted. Somebody's seen him, and I think it might be that Progetto. More than likely the Arty shells are going to start raining in. Best way to handle this is just to keep moving. And that makes it difficult for the Arty to dial in. Of course, the thing is that the T95 doesn't move particularly quickly. Oh, he's been spotted again, so they will get accurate shots this time. So just keep changing course. Took around from a Progetto who's obviously within view range. And he's fired twice, so he's now on reload, or letting the shell go back into the chamber. You can see where those shells went in. But now we're stationary. It's more than likely that the enemy Arty is going to be firing an accurate shot in. And they're not. Now he's actually telling the rest of the team cap or lose. Well, they are 2 tanks down on the enemy at the moment. And they've lost the hill. And as far as we know, the Progetto is sitting somewhere up on that ledge above the lake, looking in this direction. Oh! Arty tried a speculative shot there and failed. And it may be that the Progetto cannot see in this far because the bushes might be in the way. He's at the edge of the view range. Ah, now we've got a Centurion. So I expect our light to go off any second saying we've been seen. There he is. Now, we're not spotting him. I think it's one of our teammates who's spotting him. The Udes. And in fact, now the convoy's coming. So now would be a very good time for one of our teammates to jump into the cap and ensure a victory. Almost finished. Takes out the 50 TP for good measure, and he's got it. He won the game for his team, despite the fact that the enemy were all trying to get back to their cap in time. So let's have a look at the end of battle stats. Well, Andromeda didn't actually get a tank classification during that battle, but he did do some damage to the enemy and got 2 kills. His win rate for the game was 1690. He got a demolition expert for blowing up one of those tanks, which was the Su-101. And he also got a 5 for effect for doing more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle. And of course, because he capped out, he got the Invader medal as well by getting at least 80 cap points in the process. But he definitely won that game for his team, because at the time that he started capping, they were 2 tanks down. And there was every possibility that the enemy team were going to roll down the other side of the hill and clean up our guys in the north of the map. And so by sitting in the map, in the centre, in the cap, we were actually putting pressure on the enemy to come back and change their mind, and they did. So it was effective. And of course, in the end, because the others didn't even bother to enter the cap, they were more interested, I suppose, in trying to fend off those people who were returning, that we ended up getting the Invader medal, which is very nice. Let's have a look at team score. Well, didn't get the highest damage in the game. Note that actually went to the 50 TP that he killed right at the end of the game. He got 2,545 hit points. Didn't get the high caliber though. And the M40, 3 on our team managed to get 2,485 hit points, so he was a very busy guy. And oh, I've just seen he was beaten by the Scorpion G on the enemy team. He got 2,496. But when it came to Andromeda, he managed to get 1,969, so he wasn't a slouch. He was just below 2k in damage. And when it came to kills, he was one of only 3 people who managed to get 2 kills. And the lead killer was the SU-14-2 on the enemy team, who managed to get 3 kills in that game. And it was Arty who actually managed to get the top places on both teams. If we look at base XP though, it was the M40, M43 who managed to get 908 base experience points. 647 went to the Wizzy 111 Model 14, and 635 went to the GW Tiger P on our team, and 615 went to Andromeda for that game. He fired 5 rounds, only got 5, 3 direct hits, 3 penetrations, and damage of 1,969 hit points. He received 2 hits from the enemy. One was a penetration, one was a non-penetration, and both of them came from that Progetto 46. And, well, as you can see, he was sitting in the cap and people just weren't really shooting him. Well, I don't think they could see him, actually. His camo was so good, and he wasn't moving, so it was making it very difficult for the enemy to work out where he was. Damage blocked was 240 hit points, one of the rounds from the 90mm rounds from the Progetto. And he damaged 3 of the enemy, killed 2, and did 395 hit points of damage assist and got 100 cap points. On a free-to-play account, he earned 23,368 credits, and after repair and ammunition resupply, he took away 12,931 credits. He picked up 3 bonds for getting in the Invader, and 615 XP times 2 for the first victory took away 1,230. Well, some people might say, well, you know, why cap when it was only 2 tanks down? But the fact of the matter is, sometimes when you lose the hill and the enemy Arty does seem to be doing rather good, your team can collapse very quickly. So by getting in the cap, you put pressure on them, and it worked, and their team won. And they have to put it down to the fact that Andromeda stayed in the cap. His other teammates could have helped him, but they didn't. But there again, they owe him a beer because he was the one who won the game for them. So if you enjoyed that replay, please give this video a like and do subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification button so you get alerted when we put a new video up. We try to put at least 4 a day if we can, sometimes more if we can. And so it's well worth dropping by because we have more than just Arty replays. We do tank replays as well. And there might be a tank replay for a particular tank that you want to have a look at. Thanks for watching.